Yeah, that last video was pretty depressing. But I think we can't ever forget that stuff. We really can't forget it when we get to the point that we forget that this happened. I think we're going to be in a whole lot of trouble. Um because I think my personal opinion is it still happens, but it's not death necessarily, but the way people are mistreated and malnourished, and the way the government, the man, allows these gangs to kill each other, and the some of the things that happen to people in different parts of the world are it's pretty darn close to, and it can always, I don't trust the government at all, not at all. And you best believe I have a contingency plan. But that's enough of my paranoia. I'm going to talk about the last book of Native Son. It's called Fate. And it has been criticized that it isn't as exciting, that it falls short. But what I found some very interesting things to kind of play off for my book. Um, Bigger Thomas gets um, captured, by this vigilante posse or whatever, and they take him to jail. Like I said, this happens in Chicago. It takes place in Chicago. They take him to the jail, and the first kind of line, or first couple of lines, is there was no day for him now, there was no night. And it was kind of the thought that he was kind of maybe in shock at being caught and finally being, having to pay for actually what he had done. Which, when he killed Mary Dalton, that really was an accident. I mean, he didn't have any business in that drunk girl's room, but he really didn't have any choice because he had to take her up in the room. I mean, he stayed there and he was going to have sex with her, and that's another part. I don't want to forget about that. But he didn't mean to kill her. It was an accident. Like I said before, her mother came into the room, and her mother was blind, and she was kind of reaching, for kind of, coming towards the bed and kind of reaching out for her, sort of thing, and trying to and then when the mother smelled the alcohol, she just kind of went off. She's drunk again or whatever, and went out. So he gets captured and he's in jail, and they bring him food. He doesn't eat it. Now that's something else I kind of copped, you know, because my arch villain, when he gets caught, first of all, um he's injured from a dog bite, because my main character, of course, they live on a farm. They had a lot of dogs, and when he started sneaking up to the house, and that was something I had to stop and rethink, because I thought, okay, it's a farm. There's going to be a lot of dogs there. There's going to be, but see, all the men were okay. What he had done, what my arch villain had done, was set a fire. Now, it's got to be something else. You guys got to read actually what happened. But what he does is he sets a fire in town, which would draw all the men off the farm. Because, see, I had to come up with a way. I had to come up with a way that there wouldn't be, that she would be vulnerable on the farm. Because if he just walked up to the farm to get her one day, he he wouldn't be able to just walk there. There'd be workmen there. There'd be her man there. Oh, and something else I had to figure out too. I couldn't have a lot of people there. It had to take place when the temporary help that was there for the harvest were gone, and the men for the who went on the cattle drive were gone, and it was just a skeleton crew of people left on the people who lived on the farm. The men who lived on the farm were left on the farm, and then I had to figure out how to get rid of them. Now, how to get them out of the way. was to I thought, well, how can how can I get them out the way? Because this man is not going to walk up and take this woman away with her man, there and other men on the farm. So that is when I came up with the idea of, or rather, my villain came up with the idea of setting a fire in the town, knowing that would draw all the men from the farm to put out, the fire, and would leave my character vulnerable so he could go and get her. And then I stopped and I thought, okay, I don't have a dog because you got to walk them. When I'm rich and famous and don't have to worry about working anymore or leaving my house for long periods of times, then I'll get a dog. But then I thought, there'd be dogs, on the farm. And I thought a dog is not going to let just some guy walk up and, go and take her away. So I had one of the dogs bite him and him stab at the dog. The dog is fine. The dog is fine. The dog ends up being fine. But he stabs at the dog, and he gets a wound. He gets a jagged wound. So that's why he is actually given sleeping powder, sleeping tranquilizer, something like that. My character actually gets that. Um, but in Native Son, he just sort of is in shock, and yeah, but he's pretty battered up. From when they captured him, he's pretty battered up. So he might have be a little concussion or something. I did, Richard Wright didn't go into it, but he uh, he like comes out of it. He doesn't want to come out of it, but he some kind in Native Son, Bigger Thomas, he actually comes out of it. And still in flight, what happens is when he goes to get his girlfriend, after the jig is up, the reporters have found the girl's bones, and when they made him clean out the furnace and all that stuff like that, he didn't really want to, and the room got full of smoke, and the reporters found the earrings, one earring, and the bones. Was that he goes to his girlfriend's, and she says, well, at one point she's like, oh, look what you've done to me. I know, like I said, she's one of those what I call reality women, that the world has just beat her down till she has no imagination, no spark, no nothing left. I hate women like that. But well, I mean, it's not their fault, but so anyway, she says to him, but don't you see, don't you listen, they're going to say you raped her. And in 1940 Chicago, that was the crime that was worse than him actually murdering her. And they, the reason they say he murdered her is that he had raped her, and he didn't want I think the line was, didn't want the sight of his teeth prints on her tender white breast or something like that, and that's why he killed her. But he didn't rape her. And he says, after he's caught and everything, he thinks back on it, he's like, he had forgotten all about how he had carried her up the up the back stairs, and how he was in her room and he was actually leaning over her to kiss her. It's open whether or not he'd actually had sex with her, but um and plus wouldn't have been consensual anyway, because she was so drunk. Get that clear first in the first place. So he was wrong, but he didn't actually go through with it. And the girl, his girlfriend, Bessie, gets to the puts this, in his mind. And then when he comes to find out that he getting ready to go to trial and all this stuff like that. So what they end up doing is a lot of stuff in there that's kind of crazy, that absolutely would not have happened. But I think Richard Wright put it in there. As a matter of fact, I think in one of the copies of the book that I had, um, he actually says that, of course, that many, they wouldn't have done so and so, not really, they wouldn't have done so and so, but he wanted to elicit a certain emotion in the reader. And so he made some of these scenes, that he just, that he made. So what ended up happening was, one of the scenes, they take him from the police station. They come and get him. They take him from the, oh, well, when he comes out of the stupor of the shock, oh, excuse me, of the, that's how you stop from sneezing, little sniper trick. But well, I might have to take that out. But what happens is, they come and get him, and they take him to the house, the Dalton house. And they tell him, they say, do what you did to that girl. They want him to act out, that how he raped the girl. They want to make a spectacle, of this, um, out of the whole thing. They want to make a circus out of it, basically, to, um, as a lesson to the other black people. Look what happens. You look what happens. You get caught. Don't you dare. And there's a lot of, it's a lot of newspaper articles. That's a vehicle that Richard Wright uses to, explain what's going on. He uses a lot of, newspaper articles with this, um, to incite, the, um, to incite the white population against this man, because of course his jury is going to be white. It's going to be, he knows what's going to happen to him. So it's really no need. So, they take him to, the house, the Dalton house, and they say to him, reenact, what you did. Of course, he refuses to. At this point, he has nothing to lose, so he doesn't do it. And, as they're taking him back out, taking him to the, um back to the police station, someone across the street from the Dalton home is, burning a cross, and he looks up and he sees it. So Bigger Thomas gets back to the, police station, and a preacher had come to visit him and had given him a cross, because all prisoners, all of a sudden, you know the Lord Jesus Christ is their savior. Now, while they were out running wild and doing all this crazy stuff, it says something about jail. I guess it must be the bars or the orange jumpsuits, that all of a sudden everybody gets saved. So this preacher had come to visit him and given him a cross, and he tears it off his neck and throws it down, because he had seen the cross, burning. So he doesn't. So what another interesting twist, um, okay, in my book, my arch criminal, he, the preacher visits him too, but it's more of a, well, no, he kind of just comes to, give him, some solace, give him some, peace of mind and sort of thing, because he doesn't want to speak to, him either. And then, Native Son, also a Catholic priest, come, and he throws hot coffee at him or something, because he's seen this cross burning. He knows what's going to happen to him. And the ironic, then, like I said about my, character, my arch villain, is the irony of it is that when there's no hope, when it's done, over and done with, this is when they get a grasp on their manhood. This is when they get a desire to, um, reach inside themselves and find their strength. And when they have nothing else to lose, they know their fate. They know exactly what's going to happen. Um, and one of the twists, actually, in Native Son, remember I told you the young, communist man Jan, that, Mary Dalton went to meet that night. He's a communist. He had given Bigger Thomas the, communist pamphlets to read, and tried to talk to him about unions, and tried to talk to him, about those things. And, I said before, he tried very much to implicate him, by saying, well, yeah, he was at the house, he was in the car, that's why I didn't put it away. He was in the house, you know, um, that sort of thing. What, Jan does is gets one of the, Communist, Party lawyers to represent Bigger Thomas. And the of course the irony of that is that his girlfriend, his lover, is um murdered, and he uh and tried to put it on him, tried to get implicated with him. And then he ends up getting a lawyer for Bigger Thomas. So he has representation, but it isn't very much, he can, his name is Max. It isn't very much he can do, the only thing he can do is kind of go through the motions for him. And another one of the things is that um, he Bigger Thomas comes to the conclusion. Oh, and also you have to remember he had killed his girlfriend. He had murdered his girlfriend when they went to run away to hide in the abandoned buildings after after he was discovered what had happened. He he ends up murdering her, and he says to himself, he knows that he's not going to be punished for the black girl's death. you know he's not even being punished for the white girl's death. What he's being punished for is a crime he didn't commit, which was rape. I mean, he did murder her, but and but they try to say, oh, we're representing the families of Mary Dalton, and I think her name is Bessie Mears or Myers or something like that. I don't know where Richard Wright got these names from, but he knows that they don't care anything about the black girl. Oh, and one thing he does learn in the process, when he's being questioned by the cops, what he finds out is that Bessie didn't die. She didn't die right away. She he had bludgeoned her with a brick, and then thrown her body down a air shaft. But it is sub 0 degree weather. She hadn't died. She had tried to crawl out, which I thought was a very gory, detail. And also another ironic thing that had happened was he had remember I'd said when Bigger had found Mary Dalton's after he'd killed her, and he found her purse and everything. He um he had given Bessie the money, and the money was in her dress pocket. So anyway, which was good, Richard, good job. Which would have further deterred him. Besides the fact it was a blizzard, had closed the city down, he couldn't get away. He had no money. He had like a couple of 3 pennies or a nickel or 6 cents or whatever it was he actually had in his pocket. The money was in Bessie's dress pocket. So that was kind of karma, I guess. And also, too, one of the things that I don't know if I have time. No, I don't have time for that. But like I said before, it's a lot of I don't want to forget this part though. Let me write it down. His mom. Okay. Um what he it just shows him uh reading newspapers about the accounts of and what they're saying about him, and what how they're calling him names, woolly head animal, and just inciting everybody against him, and all this stuff like that. And his lawyer's trying to tell him, look, you don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to do any of the things. I know they took you out of here and took you there. I know they did this. I know they did that, but they, really can't do anything. And actually, Bigger Thomas kind of, you get the feeling he kind of feels sorry for Max, because the poor man is trying as hard as he can to, be a lawyer and trying to represent this man. And he's not, and he Bigger knows, look, man, don't even bother. And plus the shame of having tried to implicate Jan in Mary's murder. His after not only had the poor man lost tried to treat him like a human being, and not only had the poor young man tried to talk to him about communism, something that may would have helped him in the future, and not only that, but he tried to blame the poor man for the death of the woman. And then he turns around and um, finds a lawyer for him. So I think I'm at 45, 46, 47, 48. I think I'm going to stop now and then I'll talk about something else that happened.